Hi, Paul here, and today on the bench I have this Emerson antique fan, and customer sent this in to me. Has a few issues. Obviously the cage needs to be adjusted, but he wants a new cord put on it with a new plug, so I'm going to add a new cord that matches what was on there originally, a cloth cord and plug. The speed control wire is totally disconnected. That goes into the base through this hole here. You can see that. And connects to the speed control, which is here. And this speed control is really loose. In fact, half the time it's not even touching the contacts. So we're going to take the bottom off, take a look at that. That's the starting point. First thing we're going to do is take the base plate off so we can get to the speed control. And the base plate is held on to these fans, usually with a couple screws somewhere on the bottom. This one has 2 screws here. But we're going to go ahead and take that off. I figured I'd make a video on this because I don't make a lot of videos on appliances. I usually do more on radios, but I thought, and record players. But this is one that I think would interest people, and so we're going to go ahead and make a little video. First thing I'll do is remove these screws from the bottom. Okay, sometimes you'll have a long screw here. It'll go right through the speed control and hold it in place. This one does not. It actually has a separate support for the speed control. There's the bottom of the plate, which I will clean these pieces out as I reassemble the unit. And here's the speed control. And you see it's the line cord comes in, goes to this coil here, and the coil has center taps for low, medium, and high. And so as this wiper slides back and forth here, it rubs across those contacts. But this wiper, as you can see, has lost a lot of its springiness. This is the spring section here underneath the wiper arm. You see the, I don't know if you can see the difference in that or not, but that's what we got there. I see there's also a wire here. A couple braids of the wire actually touching the control. Doesn't matter because it's wired to that control, but that cord needs to be replaced and put on correctly. Okay, so anyway, this is what we're going to work on to get the fan to work. And we need to take this out so we can check the resistance on the coil, make sure the coil's fine. I mean, I could check it with it in, but I have to take it out anyway to wire it up. So I'm going to start by removing the power cord here. Okay, let's find which socket we need. Bigger than that one. Let's try this one. There we go. Oh, it wasn't even tight. I took it off by hand. Now, I know I mentioned in a couple of my other videos that when you take things off like this, there's a wire off under there too, the best thing to do with these so you don't lose these little pieces and, or forget where they go. Put them back on. That's the safest thing to do. And then you got them right where they're supposed to be. I moved my camera to a new location, so I'm hoping that it's picking up my audio okay. If not, I won't upload this video. I'll have to work on my camera, see in the future videos that I can be heard. Okay, so there's the old line cord, and we're going to just go ahead and take it off. Take it right out of the way. That fixes that problem. Now, this has two screws that hold the speed control in, so we're going to go ahead and take that off. And seeing as the speed control looks original to this fan, we are going to do our best to fix it so that it's switching correctly, and if it can't be repaired, then I'll have to try to find one. Okay, there's the speed control, and you see the wires are just all cut. There's oil and grease all over it, which dripped down from inside the motor when it was greased over the years and oiled. And so actually that's not a bad thing in a way. It kind of kept this looking clean. And I'll clean it up and get all this excess grease off these metal plates and off the cloth covering there, and connect the new wires to these connections here, and oops, have to get him out of there. There's where a magnet comes in handy. That screw went down instead of the nut going on it. Let's see if we can get that screw back up in there some. I'll put that back together a little later on. Right now I just want to get the nut on it so it stays in place. Easier done with two hands. Let me set the fan down. Okay. Okay. So this is the speed control. And I'm going to go ahead and take those washers off. And the wire, that's the one that I just pulled the wire off of. Okay. Doing a little better now that I've taken it out and worked it some. You notice how, I don't know if you can hear that. It's actually making much better contact. Apparently what happened was some oil had gotten in here between the selector and the actual contact slider underneath, and was pulling it away. Could have been that screw being loose too, I don't know. They might have been pushing somewhere, but it sure is a lot tighter than it was when it was in the fan. That's a good thing. So I ought to be able to clean this up and keep it going, keep it working. So we're going to go ahead and check the resistance on this. This one comes directly in, and this one comes off the selector. Actually, this goes to the motor. So that one goes directly to the motor, and let's see. Okay, here we go. Here's one of the speed wires here, connected there. The other one, that's high, that goes directly across to the full speed to the motor. This goes through the coil, part of the coil, to the motor. So basically this coil with the center taps is an inductor that reduces the voltage going to the fan. Now this fan is 110 volts. Because it is an antique fan, it's rated at 110 volts. Well, today's voltage mains can be anywhere in the U.S., anywhere from 115 or 110 all the way up to 126, 127. Mine's runs at around 121 volts. So what I suggest to fan collectors is that they buy a voltage limiter to keep the voltage down. Keep the voltage down to a safe voltage so you don't burn out the motor or the armature, because that high voltage, 120 volts, is a lot more than it's rated for. And the speed switch will still work. Get some to clean this, but you also have the ability to have a variable voltage speed control for the motor, and that comes in nice too as a secondary item. I don't have one in the shop right now because I sold my last one to a former customer, but I'll be getting another one for demonstration purposes. But I can put the link to one in the description of this video. Okay, let's get some of the junk off here. And I'll clean this up much better off camera. I'm just getting the worst of it. Let me use this plate. Set it on. Okay, so that's the direct one. That's high. This is the other side. So this is the 110 volts full voltage, which runs the fan at high speed. This is the medium speed, and it comes out based on where we select here, whether it'll be the full coil, which would be low, the second part of the coil, the third part of the coil, and which would increase the speed as you take windings out. Now I'm making this video for a demo for the owner as well, so he can see what's going on here, but I also want to help you guys, my viewers, understand how this works, because some of them are learning to repair these things. All the grease I got off that coil. So I'm going to take a moment and show you how that works. Nothing there. Alright, so on low, we're getting 6 ohms, 5.8 ohms, somewhere around there. And this is medium. This should be half of that. So we got to figure out what wire is not working there. This one here. Aha, there's the signal there. There it is. The wires broke off. See it there? You see how that wires broke off there? not making contact, so I've got to resolder it back to that solder joint, which is the other side of this nub. But from there, I get it on that wire and make a halfway decent connection. That's hard to do because this wire needs to be cleaned. Okay, 3.5 ohms, and that would be this one, and this one here with 5.3 ohms. So the coil's good. That's all the coil there. That's across the entire coil. So there's the input of the coil, the output of the coil, and this has a single center tap. And then the coil is not being used when it's all the way over here. It's just directly connected to the motor. So that's high speed, medium, slow, and off. And this coil is good. I gotta clean it and then get it wired back into the unit. The next thing is to figure out what's going on with the motor itself. So we'll set this aside. Let's take a look at that. Okay, here's the wires that go up to the motor. Of course, they're wired together. Okay, we got 59 ohms there, half that there, and between these two here, we got 40 ohms. Okay. The next thing is to take the motor housing off the motor and I'm going to put some power directly to the motor and onto my Variac and bring the motor up slowly and see how it sounds, how it's running, what does it need inside, if anything. Let's get this old cord off. Okay, that's part one of the video. Well, I'll open this video up, this fan up, and we will continue this video at that time. Thanks for watching. Okay, I'm continuing cleaning this switch here and getting it ready for this fan. I already soldered a piece of wire in there and made sure it was soldered well. Solder flowed all over the top. I'm probably going to heat it up one more time and reflow it. That old solder is hard to melt. The wire was broken off, so I stripped some of the insulation back in there, and I shoved a pretty good gauge wire in there, probably about an 18 gauge, and connected it to the wire. Looks like someone had tried to repair it once before, but they used like a 22 gauge piece, or maybe even less than that, maybe 26 gauge, and it acted like a fuse and just burnt off. So I put a thicker wire on there, the wire which matches the wire in there. You can see the edge of the wire is pretty thick. So still got some cleaning to do on this, but right now I was cleaning this shift speed selector, and I separated the two pieces. This just sits inside this slot. This was full of black gunky grease. You see how they're oxidized just lightly. And this one, and this one, and this one. This one don't look too bad, but lightly just touch over them. I don't want to take them down any. I just want to get rid of the oxidation. I might try some deoxit and see if that'll pull some of that off. Maybe it will. And then I cleaned this shaft I still got to clean the underside. You see what was in there? That was between those two shafts. This one was black. Now it's nice and clean copper on this side. The other side is going to need some touch up. You see, and that's where it rubs against the contacts, but most of it is oxidized, so I'm going to deoxide that and continue with that. There was a lot of grease in this fitting here. There still is some in there. See it in there? I got to get all that grease out of there. It's not going to hurt anything, but it doesn't need to be there, and it does have the tendency to gum up over time. So we get it out, clean it out, and then I'll oil this with some fresh oil just to keep it moving smoothly, but not like that, not with all that gunky stuff in there. That again was dripping from inside the motor here. When they would oil it, you got a spot that you can put grease in here, and you put oil in here, and grease in here, and all that grease just over time working its way down constantly into the channel here, into the base, was dripping down onto this contact from the top. So it was coming down from here and getting in between those two sliders. This is the contact, and this is the tension spring that holds it down tight on the contacts. So you need to make sure that that tension spring is still got plenty of tension. It was really loose when I was trying to adjust the speeds while it was in the fan. It wasn't even hardly touching these contacts. So again, I got to be really careful that I don't take them down much, just a little. And I'm going to hit them with a little bit of deoxit, and then I'll see what I can do to clean them up. But I'm going to pause the video and I'll be back. Okay, I finished cleaning it and I wired it up, and I just got some temporary clips there to hold the wires in the general areas. They're okay, they're not going to touch each other. And I've got it on my Variac here, and I did an initial check at around 60 volts with my light, current limiting light, to make sure there's no problem. I'm up to 110 volts now, which is what it's rated at. And of course there's no amps and no watts because it's not running. But we're going to go ahead and turn it on low. So we'll move this to low. There we go, and the motor works. And that's on low. And of course it's going to try to turn, so I want to shut it off. And let's see if I can figure out how to keep it from turning. I guess there really isn't a way on this unit. I don't see any way. I'm sure there is, but alright, we're just going to let it turn. We're going to take the risk that those wires stay safe. Okay, so that's low. And it's throwing air. And everything's okay. And it should turn back. Okay, that's low speed. Now we'll put it on medium. And on medium we're drawing 0.8 ohms, amps, so 820 milliamps, and 58 watts. So, and you see it's running fine. Of course the fan needs to be cleaned, and I got to keep an eye on these wires because that wire is moving back and forth, but it doesn't seem to be moving my alligator clips. Okay, so we'll go to high. There's high. And the fan's running good. And we're drawing 840 milliamps or 60 watts. Not bad at all. So we shut it down, and now I'm going to go ahead and mount that in back in the base with the new cord and start cleaning the fan, because it really needs to be cleaned. It's kind of a mess. So I'm going to clean the fan, and I'm going to go ahead and oil it and grease the parts that need to be greased with some new grease, and tighten up the cage. And this fan should be ready to go back. You see where I cleaned the contacts. Let me shut my voltage down here so I don't tickle myself. Okay, you see where I cleaned the contacts and got them down where they're working fine. And they got pretty good amount of pressure, so they're making good contact. Well, obviously, because the fan was running. So some of this here will dry up. That's just my cleaning solution that I used to get most of that grease out of there. I couldn't get it all, but I didn't want to spend a lot of time on that. It's clean, it's functional, and this, when it dries up, I will oil with some good oil. I've been working it to get more and more of the grease out from between that joint. There's no way to disassemble that, so it's actually just a rivet. You know, back then they did things a whole lot differently than we do today, but that is a amazing way to do a switch, and it works fine. There's nothing wrong with it. This is a 1931 fan, so it's been running for 80 years, 88 years, going on 100 years old, and that switch is still working, still functioning fine. Can't get that kind of quality today, that's for sure, but you can even hear how that hits those contacts. They would not make anything like that today. First off, it'd probably be plastic, and it sure wouldn't last. So that's where I'm at. Time to reassemble and clean the fan and oil the fan, and we should be good to go. Thank you for watching my video. Okay, I'm about finished with this Emerson 1931 Emerson fan. I cleaned it up and I shined it up a little bit. I didn't paint it, obviously. It's just shined up so it's protective from rust, and it'll push air a lot better. It had a lot of buildup, years of buildup of dirt on the edges of the fan, the draft edge of the fan, so I had to clean that off and sand it down just a little to get all that out of there. But then I was able to shine it up a little bit. So here it is, and that's on low speed, quiet as can be. Ready for many more years of use. Here's medium speed. I know you hear a lot of wind in my phone as it comes by, but that's normal. That's just because the phone picks up the air movement sound. And this is high. Now that motor is spinning. Again, I got this set at 110 volts, which is what it's rated for. A fan rheostat would be good for this to control the voltage, so you don't put too much voltage into this thing, but you know, it'll last longer at its rated voltage. Anyway, this concludes the work on this fan and concludes the video. I appreciate you watching the video, and if you have any questions or comments, please ask below, and be sure to like and share the video. Thank you.